Hi, my name is Letala from Zimbabwe, Africa. Me and my friends, we love listening to Israel National Radio.
Hello and welcome to Life Lessons. This is Judy Simon on Israel National Radio. Today I have invited a very special lady. You may have already heard of her, Toby Willig. Toby is a very active writer to the Letters to the Editor section of Jerusalem Post, which is where you might have already met her. She made Aliyah over 26 years ago from New York. Prior to her Aliyah, she was the president of Emunah of America. And you know what? She will not retire. She is constantly active, volunteers for so many organizations. The list is long. She's always busy doing something for the sake of the people of Israel or of the state of Israel. Toby, I am so glad that you took some time out of your very busy schedule to speak with us and tell us your story.
Well, thank you, and I'm very glad to be with you.
Toby, we always begin our show by talking about our grandparents. Would you please tell us who your grandparents were?
Well, I had remarkable grandparents, I have to tell you, and it's interesting that you begin an interview with that. I really did have. I had, on my mother's side, Moshe and Rivka Korn, K-O-R-N. He was a Zionist before anything there was a state. He bought land in Israel, in Hulan, and he had such faith in the coming of Israel as being really a wonderful country and that it would come into existence. So that was one grandfather, and my grandmother went along with them, and they were Galiciana, and on my father's side, also Galiciana, brilliant, wonderful people. They left the little shtetl and came to America. My grandfather did, and he raised another family in America because, unfortunately, my father's mother died in childbirth, and they were wonderful people and strong in their beliefs. And interesting, they were never confined to just being shtetl Jews. They all had good minds, and they all had minds that were involved in the politics and worldliness and things like that. So I had a great deal. I didn't know my father's father, but this is what I heard. But I did know my mother's parents, and they were a good influence on me even at a very young age.
So both sets of grandparents came from Galicia to New York?
Yes, both came from Galicia, and believe it or not, to this day I'm very proud of their being Galiciana, in quotes, because I think in Galicia they were not subject to real persecution at all. The Emperor Franz Joseph had a sort of benevolence, and the people in Galicia liked him, and they were able to know German and Polish as well as Yiddish and Hebrew, and it gave them a different outlook.
Mm-hmm. So what kind of a home did your parents create for you as a child in New York?
My parents, they were wonderful people because they really made it here. They went to night school, they learned English, they they read papers in English, and I remember my father bringing home the Post every day, and we would jump for the paper, and my father read, my mother read. My mother read books that I am ashamed to say I have not read, and I think that they combined the best way of being Jewish and fitting into this world of a new world. They integrated pretty well, even though we lived in what is technically a Jewish ghetto, because most of my friends and acquaintances and everybody else were Jewish. It was a Jewish neighborhood. But they created an interesting home, and we discussed things in our home.
Mm-hmm. You spoke Yiddish in the home? The language?
Actually, no. My parents spoke Yiddish to themselves, but they spoke English to us.
Mm-hmm.
They could read and write in English, which I'm saying, and we knew Yiddish a little bit. My mother and father would take me, especially since I was the oldest, to Jewish theater, to a lecture in Yiddish, but they basically spoke English.
Did you go to a public school or a Jewish school?
There were no real Jewish schools where I lived, so I went to public schools all my life, supplemented by Talmud Torah education, of course. But my brothers already started to go to a Jewish school.
In your home, did you keep all of the mitzvahs, Shabbos, Kashrus, all the holidays?
Of course, at great sacrifice, because it was hard for my father to come home in time, but he did, and we observed everything. And again, I have to say, we were a strictly Shomer Shabbos home, and my father davened in the shtibel, but we never felt so restricted. Somehow I had a cultural program in a shul near us. I belonged to a Zionist group, and we didn't feel confined. And all of us, I think what gave us, my brothers, me, a special distinction maybe, is that we all went to college. And college really bridged the gap between the outside world and the neighborhood that we lived in.
What did you study in college, Toby?
Well, I studied social studies, in which I was very interested, government, operations, psychology. I was always interested in how the human being makes decisions for himself and the government and everything else.
Did you think about going into politics? You were active from a very young age.
I was, but you have to understand, in America, you just can't go into politics. I did think of becoming a lawyer at one point. My mother was very anxious that I do so, but it was not financially possible. And instead I became a social worker, but with the elective of being a community worker, meaning that I would work with people in the community, in neighborhoods, and understanding what could be done. And always I thought of majoring, and I did, in public opinion formation.
Toby, you were very active in so many things, even from a young age.
Right. Well, I think I was very fortunate, as I said in the beginning, in growing up in the home I did. And my parents were active, believe it or not, first in their societies and then in all other things for Israel. And I became very interested in Israel at an early age. And I remember going to Lewiston Stadium and having a rally for Israel. I remember hearing Rabbi Abba Hillel Silva, who had a wonderful way of talking and mesmerizing the community, and I was so glad I was able to be at the birth of the state of Israel.
Wow.
And we were always, my husband too, very active for Israel.
Where did you and your husband meet?
Well, we met the Young Israel of Manhattan, and all the Young Israels had social activities for boys and girls. And we met at one of these affairs, and my cousin introduced us, and that's how we met in Young Israel of Manhattan.
At that point, did you think that one day you would make Aliyah and live in Israel?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. I mean, we just were interested in working together for Israel. In fact, on our third date, I collected money. My mother was very active. She was J&F chairman for her Mizrahi, and we couldn't go out. I remember that evening because Herbie, he had just lost an uncle, and he didn't feel like going out on a date. And I said, you know what, let me collect money for my mother's pishka. And we went up and down the trains, and I collected money for her J&F pishka, and we collected quite a sum that night.
Well, you sure collected a sum that night. That was when your husband fell in love with you, right?
I don't know. He may have fallen in love after, but he certainly went with me, and we had the satisfaction of knowing that we had done something good.
Tell me about Emunah Women of America.
Well, it started here in Israel, and we had Toby's son Hadrai come over to organize in America. There was no affiliate. At that time, it was called Hapara Mizrahi Women's Organization, and it was identified with the Hapara Mizrahi here in Israel. And that's how it started. And she came over and was our inspiration. And one of the things she said, which made an enormous impression, she said everyone should have another child. At that time I had two, and I thought very seriously of having my third, and we did, and my friends equally so. It was interesting that as a result of her speech, a lot of children were born. But more important, we were activists. It was a feeling that we could make changes in Israel, and Israel was a young country, and we could be effective. And we were, I think. And when I became national president, I had the great scourse of changing the name, because I used to sit in agony when political people tried to address us and say how good we were as Hapara Mizrahi, and of course they could never really say the word. And when we decided to become Emunah, and that started from Israel, and all the countries became Emunah with it, we were so happy, because it's a much more reflective name of what we women were, that we had Emunah, that we were steadfast in our beliefs, that we knew that there would be an Israel, and that it would be a wonderful country.
Emunah means faith in
That's
God.
That's right, and that's what we had. Faith, of course, in the Torah, and faith in Arutz Sheva, and faith that we could make a blessed state that would have good values.
I'm sure that you raised your 3 children, your 2 sons and your daughter, with the same wonderful values and love for Torah, for the land of Israel, for God, that you yourself were raised with.
Well, I hope so. I don't know. We never know to the end, but I hope so. My daughter is here on Aliyah. She came before I did. She was very strong in her love for Israel, and she married a man who was just as strong, maybe even stronger. The two of them came here before my husband and I did, and my oldest son came here not too long ago, about 3 years ago, and he moved to Sfat with his family.
Toby, would you like to share with us a story or two about some of the things that you feel that you accomplished when you were still in New York?
Well, in New York, I became a very active member of the President's Conference, I must say, and I used to ask many questions and have people on the record. And I've learned it doesn't matter. It matters, of course, that they keep their word. but it doesn't matter in the extent that once you get them to say something, you have it publicly. And one of the things I'll never forget, when King Hussein was in New York, he was hosted by the President's Conference, and I remember asking him about visitation, mass visitors to the grave of Aaron HaKohen, our wonderful Aaron, and where we know the grave. Moshe we don't know, but Aaron we know exactly, and he was rather surprised at the fact that we knew the grave, and that at that time maybe individuals had gone up, but nobody went up as a group. And I asked him if that was possible, and he said, "Oh, I didn't know. Let me look into it." But of course we never did. But I felt very good that I had asked him the question about mass visitation to the grave of Aaron HaKohen.
Where is Aaron HaKohen buried?
He's buried in Jordan.
In what is today Jordan?
Yeah, what is today Jordan? Well, this was King Hussein.
Right.
And the President's Conference had hosted him, and I was able to ask him that question.
Wow.
So I felt very good about that. And then also another wonderful time when that's why you have to be in a way a little worldly. We went to the White House after President Carter had allowed Andrew Young to vote on Jerusalem not being an integral part of Israel, that's subject to negotiations. And that was the first time, and I remember we went there, and that was when he stated, the president, that it was a glitch. But unfortunately, that glitch was never
rectified.
Changed, and the United States, of course, which had authorized the glitch, did not undo it, and that's why we have the problem today of Jerusalem being subject to negotiation. It never had been before.
And what part did you play?
I asked also how come Andrew Young did this on his own. It seemed to be an impossible thing for someone appointed by President Carter to do something on his own. And he said, well, he didn't consult with us, and the president sort of tried to get out of it. It was a very unhappy president who had to face the organized Jewish community at that meeting. And I've learned since then that when Secretary of State John Kerry makes a speech, of course it's the White House and President Obama who instructs him. No one speaks like that without the president authorizing it. There's no such thing as a diplomat doing on his own. And remember long ago when April Glaspie gave an okay to Iraq, and how wonderful, it of course is authorized, but they take the fallout if something negative occurs.
You're saying
and Andrew Young remained as ambassador.
You're saying that diplomats, ambassadors, secretaries of state are often pawns of the president.
Of course, they have their own style, and maybe sometimes they will argue with the president, in advance. Look at what happened in Libya just a year and a half ago when our ambassador was killed there. He had argued for more security. He had begged, but he wasn't going to go public ever, and all remains diplomatic. When Secretary of State John Kerry makes such a public statement as he did, of course he did it with the president's not only knowledge, but with his absolute approval. No one could get away with doing that on their own. They'd be fired or diplomatically resign.
Toby, you ask a lot of really good questions. You mentioned earlier the importance of being worldly, but you have a combination of a worldliness and an awareness of what is going on around you, combined with a very strong sense of your own Judaism and what is moral and what is right and what the Torah tells us. That's a powerful combination.
Well, thank you. It's part of the way I was brought up and living with my husband as well, and I do feel that way. I feel there is something tremendous in Judaism, and it says someday in Aleinu L'Shabeach, one of our great prayers, that someday the world will recognize this as God as being one. I don't know why Hashem picked Arutz Yisrael, but he did to give to the Jewish people, and he did, and that's the way it is, that's all. And I think Israel has the most tremendous mission, that it survived into what could have been an era where all wanted to end Jews and Judaism, and it survived, and here we are again, and it has a tremendous mission to make the world more moral.
And will we succeed?
I hope we will. I hope we will. I hope the world doesn't blow itself up into nothing before it can. It doesn't want to be so moral. Believe me, it likes to be hedonistic. It likes to think that there's no accountability. I hope we have the chance yet to try.
Sometimes it seems that we are our own worst enemies.
Well, we are, because we have people who are Jewish, people who, listen, if they come from outside of Israel and they have very little ties to Judaism, but technically they're Jews and they feel they know what's right for us, this is one big problem we have. But when we have Jews here who have very little feeling about Judaism, who have been given the most paltry kind of education here, where they don't even know the difference between Ushishkin and Aaron HaKohen. They know nothing about either one of them, and then they come out and say, if we only had peace, if we only could have good Syrian hummus, the hummus that they love, and a cafe where they could intermingle, and that would be fine with them, and not realize that there's a world of separation between what we believe in and what they believe in. That's really a tragedy.
Toby, we're coming to the end of the first half of the show.
Wow.
So I want you to hold on. We'll be back with more of Toby Willig's story. So don't go away.
Shalom, dear friends, from the Derech Eretz Hour. This is Rabbi Ilan Adler. Join us on my most recent show, where we talk a little bit about Kristallnacht, what happened, how can we avoid it if we raise our children to be a mensch, to be good, to be kind, to be considerate. In the second part of our show, we talk about various individuals who really impress me with what kind of a mensch they really are and the kind of Derech Eretz they do in working with the homeless and helping people get over the ravages of Hurricane Sandy a year ago. So if you want to feel good, if you want to be good, tune in to the Derech Eretz Hour with me, Rabbi Ilan Adler, here on Israel National Radio.
Hi, this is Yechiel, and you are listening to Arutz Sheva. I've been listening to Arutz Sheva for many years, the Aliyah Revolution. So many people lately have been coming. We believe in the greater Israel, is explained in the Torah, and we sing about it on Shabbat, and that we be praying to come back for thousands of years. Jews are uniting for Aliyah and Klita in the land, and it's great.
You are listening to Arutz Sheva, IsraelNationalRadio.com.
We're back with with the second half of Life Lessons. We're in the middle of a conversation with Mrs. Toby Willig. Toby is an activist. She is pro-Israel and always doing something for the sake of the people of Israel and for the sake of the state of Israel. Toby, you've told us a lot about your background and how you became such an articulate and worldly person who's still steeped in the understanding of Torah being prime. But we haven't yet talked about your aliyah to Israel. When did you decide you wanted to make aliyah?
I am going to be so honest with you. I would have remained in the States. My husband, bless his memory, really pushed. His parents had come here, and his father always told him, Herbie, come before you're old. You'll enjoy Israel. You'll enjoy. And Herbie kept pushing, and when we reached a state where Herbie felt, my husband, that we should go, we're still young enough to go and make a difference, and that we could manage financially because he'd come back 3.5 months a year to do tax work, that it would be good. He started to push, and I was so complacent because although I had been to visit Israel so many times, and even visiting my daughter and her husband so many times, I felt, what am I going to do in Israel? Here in America, I was so busy, I was so active, I was going to all sorts of meetings with different people, I was active in politics, I knew our senators, I knew our Congress people, I knew them on a local level. What would I do? I was not a typical housewife, and I couldn't say I would manage so beautifully shopping in Israel and doing. And I thought, we'll go someday when we're older, But he pushed, and then I felt I should go. How could I say I don't really want to go yet? I'll wait till I'm old. But I am so glad we did, because we went at the right time, and I met wonderful people here, and I became very active very quickly, and my husband was very happy here. And for a long time, we went back 3.5 months a year to the States, so I kept up my affiliations. But you see, what's wonderful about living in Jerusalem is everything is here. It is the most cosmopolitan city in the world, and yet the most spiritual. So look what you have here. You can meet people from all over, and I did. And you go to the hotel, and you see people from all over the world. You see Jews and Gentiles, and you talk to people, and everything is so accessible. In New York, you have to travel quite a distance, and it's hard. Here, you take a bus or you walk, and believe me, it makes a world of difference. And the fact is, you have much more hands-on knowledge of people here than you do in America.
Why is that?
You do, because it's a smaller city, but it's a microcosm of the whole world, because everyone comes to Jerusalem.
Before you made Aliyah, you were so busy changing the world and making a difference that you were afraid you wouldn't be as useful or as important or making such a difference when you made Aliyah.
That's true. I felt I would have a smaller existence, and I would be busy so much cooking and shopping and doing mundane things.
You turn into a balabuster.
Exactly. Which is not my dream. Okay.
But the opposite was true. You ended up becoming even more active and even more changing the world than you had been.
That's very true, and I always say Hashem has a quixotic sense of humor. That's it.
Tell me about living in Jerusalem.
Well, I happen to live I live 43 steps up in a house that has no elevator. But this house is very historical. It was used during the War of Independence to have people smuggle things from this house, equipment, arms, etc., to the agency across the street. So I have a fabulous location. It's actually 5 entrances around a garden. And the location is beautiful. It's so accessible. On the corner, I have every bus. Across the street, I have the Safnot, the Jewish agency. I have a wonderful shopping street, Karen Kayemet. And in fact, when I came to live here, they said you don't have to ever leave Karen Kayemet. You can have everything here.
Wow.
And I love the name.
Rehavia?
No, Karen Kayemet Yisrael.
Karen Kayemet, that's right. That's right.
So
That's the JNF.
More Zionist?
Toby, one of the things that you're very active in is writing letters to the editor to the Jerusalem Post.
Well, I do this. First of all, I can't say how much it means to me to be able to express my thoughts. And secondly, I feel someone out there may be listening, may read the paper and understand. It bothers me so much that we have made, as Israelis, so many mistakes. Had we said in 67, we won, and that's it. And we are going to keep what we won. All is the right thing to do. I never could understand. It just doesn't make sense that we have to worry about giving away what we won in a just war. We were attacked by having a complete boycott, and complete the seas were brought to us. We had the Suez Canal closed to us. We were in every way victims of the Arab mentality that wanted to make war on us because they thought they'd end the state in 67. Why in the world are we placed in such a position that the whole world now says, oh, you didn't do the right thing? What didn't we do right? We fought so that we could exist, and we won. We were smart enough, and God helped us enough to win. So how we let that opportunity go away and say to the world, oh, we were wrong to have won, we should have been exterminated, and then you would have said, too bad. I mean, I can't understand. I couldn't understand the diplomacy of 67 at the end, which said, oh, we'll have an armistice, and that's it. And in 73, they attacked again. So what is, and in 73, we won really because Hashem was with us, God was with us. There were so many errors that we made in 73. Why are we placed in such jeopardy? And why is even Jews here make peace? Yes, make peace. And what we have peace in a way. We have peace. What do they want? They want that we give up our right to exist, that we go back to what even Avon, that great spokesman in the English language, would say, to Auschwitz lines. We have every right of morality, of the war being forced on us, to keep territory which was an integral part of what we know as Israel.
Toby, do you feel like you are making a difference in your letters?
I feel so much. And another thing, there was no Palestinians in 67. We went to war against Arab nations. There was no such thing as Palestinians. None. Jordan had Palestinians living there, and all the countries had Palestinians living there. But there was no ever a Palestine. I don't know why we are saddled now with this idea. We went to war against concrete nations.
And now we have some sort of a crazy situation where we're at war with a non-existent nation.
Exactly, with a non-existent nation, and the other Arab nations say, gung-ho, great, you'll have the Palestinian state right carved out of you. It won't be carved out of any of the other the other Arab states. Carved out of Israel, we will be the mother and father of this new state. Isn't that wonderful for them to contemplate that Israel is the father and mother of the new Palestinian state that they want to impose on us, in the midst of us, in the midst of our people? I never heard of anything like that.
Toby,
Never.
Toby, are you optimistic or pessimistic about our future? Everything you've described says we are on our way to doomsday. But somehow I suspect that you still have optimism in you.
I do, because, you see, Emunah, faith, I have faith of people that existed for over 3,500 years, maybe 4,000 years, and has weathered every kind of situation. Look, when Rome captured Judea and we were exiled, there was always a handful of people that remained here. They thought that Judea captive, there will be no more Judea, they'll have no more problem. But you see, we always kept the dream of fulfilling our mission on the soil that God gave us. For some reason, He gave us this land, and that we always fulfilled it. And I still feel that the world has a choice to go down itself in a nuclear explosion of some sort, starting with wherever it'll start, or staying and helping Israel and becoming a better world. And I don't know, but I feel the stronger we feel this and the stronger we are here, the more chance we have for the whole world to survive, but certainly us. The rest of the world may kill itself off. What do I know? But I think if we survive and do what we can here, and maybe force the world to understand if they only want to, but who knows? Who knows? The world has always been in search of good and in search of evil and destructiveness, and that's the way it is. It's played out in different ways in different countries, but that's the way it is. I think Europe has dealt itself a very lethal blow by having so many Muslims come into their countries, and that their days are numbered in many, many ways, because the Muslims want to take over and run the world according to their belief, and they don't hesitate in every way to impose it. So who knows what's going to be in England or France in the future.
Toby, you asked me to play the song Hallelujah, which is taken from the prayer, the Hallel prayer, which we say on holidays and at the beginning of each new month. Why did you choose that song?
Why did I do that?
Yes.
I'll tell you why. Look at the words. First of all, I think in a way the Jewish people really have a great mission of making God into this world, and they understand. And when will this best world come into existence? We call Mashiach. When can that idea happen? When the whole world understands it, praises God. Kol HaNeshama, every soul will understand. And it is true. Mankind is so blessed by being aware. You see, other animals understand the sun is good. They have what they can eat. But mankind is aware that there is something beyond man and his mortal mind, even though it's computerized and it's brilliant. They understand that there was a creator, that the whole world depends on feeling something and the praising the existence of each soul, each human being. And I think when Abraham found this out, the world began to progress beyond just paganism and beyond just the feeling that that's it to the whole idea of humanity. The idea that we can praise, that the soul can turn to God. And I think that's the mission of the Jew. And that's the most wonderful prayer of Hallel. And I think that Judaism and Israel have the best chance of helping man to become what God wanted him to.
Okay, so on that note, we will listen to the song Hallelujah. Toby, we like to end our show by asking the following question. What lessons have you learned on your own life's journey that you'd like to share with the rest of us?
I tell you what I have learned. I have learned that as long as you live, you always have a chance to do better, to enjoy life better, to feel more, to understand that life itself is a great, great gift. You are positive. When we see, even hello, what I just said, you only say that if you're alive. You have every feeling of living every second. It's such a joy. It's such a blessing. God gave us something that no other creature on earth has. This feeling that we are in conjunction with God, to feel, to understand, to think, to do. No other creature has this. What a gift God gave us. And to be aware of being alive every minute that you are alive. And thank God for that.
What a beautiful and positive message, Toby. Thank you. Thank you so much for being on our show and sharing your beautiful story. And I want to wish you the best of godly blessings and good health, Ad 120 until 120. And you should continue to make a difference in the world, to be active, to do good things, and to make the world a better place for the rest of us.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate, and you're a wonderful interviewer, and may you be blessed.
Thank you, Toby. Thank you, dear listeners, for tuning in. You've been listening to Judy Simon on Israel National Radio and the show Life Lessons. As always, we love to hear from our listeners. If you have a comment or a suggestion, if there was something that you liked about the show, or even something that bothered you about the show, please don't hesitate. Write to me. My email is Judy, Judy, at israelnationalradio.com. What you think and what you feel is important to us, and we do respond. So please take a minute and tell us what you do like, and even give us some suggestions on fascinating people or inspiring people that you personally know that you would love for me to interview on the show. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll be back hopefully next week. This is Judy Simon on Israel National Radio. Have a wonderful week.
If you want to make a donation to Israel National Radio, because it's a fabulous organization, we just do it because we love you. What can I say? So go to donateinr.com. That's donateinr.com, and send in your donations. You know, the little short time we're here, we got to find meaning. We got to build ourselves. We got to see what we can do to reach our potential, to remove all these things that are preventing us from reaching to the goals and our true potential. So I want to say to you out there is this: you got to believe it just like I believe it.